Hey everybody, I'm Daniel from Rated DG13. After Bacho mentioned me in his 2K subscriber special, which already helped boost my morale after a complicated year, he reached out again asking if I'd like to do this collaboration. And that was the golden ticket that got me out of bed and helped me commit to finishing a video within a reasonable amount of time again. So thanks again, Bacho, for delaying my suit. Before now, I'd never actually seen a Lynch film. Not out of any aversion to his style, I just wanted to be in the right headspace for him. I distinctly remember trying to watch Eraserhead a couple years ago. I was eating chicken nuggets and then this scene happened, and I was like, maybe later. I'm not opposed to disturbing movies, but I usually prep myself beforehand and definitely underestimated how far this one would go despite knowing its reputation for being weird. Today, however, I'll be talking about Lost Highway. I'm a big fan of cerebral mysteries, especially when they're about non-detectives getting swept up into bizarre journeys, so this seemed right up my alley. Lost Highway, from my first viewing, appears to be about a man wanting to escape the dullness of his life by picturing himself as a nostalgic, youthful protagonist. It goes without saying, but understand that this is my interpretation of the film, not a plot synopsis, because f*** me if I'm gonna recount the literal sequence of events that took place. Intentional or not, I think the film perfectly captures that feeling of getting lost in your head while overthinking scenarios to break up the monotony of life. It's a habit that can easily get out of hand, and I'm sure many can relate to it, despite how unrelatable most of the characters are. The tailgating scene is a great example of this, as it's an instant over-the-top act of revenge in response to a minor, common annoyance. Renee becoming Alice is another indication, as she goes from a spouse Fred can no longer pleasure to a femme fatale cheating with him on a gangster. The excitement from Pete and Alice's sleazy dynamic is Fred's idea of what would rekindle their relationship. Not to mention the cops who repeatedly comment on how much action he gets. It reads like a very self-congratulatory delusion as Fred chronically masturbates in real life. I'm pretty sure the reason why Fred becoming Pete requires a whole different actor while Patricia Arquette plays both of her roles is due to the insecurity spawned from her fading interest in him regarding his career and as a lover. He feels the need to totally reinvent himself for her, whereas she's nearly ideal to him already. They don't exactly show who killed his wife, but I still stand by my point even if it was Fred. It would have less to do with her not meeting his standards and more to do with him snapping because he thinks she's unattainable. Towards the end, when he finally visits the cabin that's been appearing to him in visions, his final disappointment with Alice/Renee comes to a head. Pete asks Alice why she chose him, and instead of answering him, she asks back if he still wants her. They have sex for the last time while he repeatedly exclaims that he does, but once they finish, she tells him he'll never have her. This results in him transforming from Pete back into Fred. To me, the cabin represents his memory, and the imagery of it exploding in reverse represents his inability to forget the reality of his situation. And when Alice/Renee goes missing inside the cabin, it means he no longer knows who she is as a person. When he tries to look for her, he only sees the mystery man. While never confirmed, the actor himself said that he thinks he's the devil. The line about being invited by Fred into his house and whispering something into his ear that could potentially be instructions to pay his due alludes to that idea. Even though Fred insists he doesn't know the mystery man when they meet at the party, I still think he granted Fred's subconscious desire for a different life, only to subsequently torture him with a reminder that no amount of fantasy will prevent the consequences of his actions. I would say the main message I got from this film is how easily the brain manipulates itself when a seed of mistrust, self-doubt, or regret is left unacknowledged, and how it can lead someone to falsely demonize or glorify others and themselves. As far as criticisms go, while the mystery kept my attention on the first viewing, by the end I'm not certain the pacing and length was fully justified. Obviously there's more I can read into that could reshape how I see the story, but I don't feel the need to revisit this too soon. Under the Silver Lake and Burning are also disorienting, long, slow mysteries that gave me more reasons to return outside of solving the puzzle. I thought they had more interesting characters across the cast and were more effective in their use of tone. This wasn't consistently creepy or comedic enough to fully captivate me from beginning to end, and slightly tighter pacing would have gone a long way, though it's not without its moments.
Here I am.
Still, with a great soundtrack, impressive imagery, and a unique plot that was successfully enigmatic without frustrating me, it was definitely a worthwhile experience, and a solid introduction to his work. Every issue I had with Lost Highway was a complete non-factor in Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive, which nailed exactly what I was looking for more effectively. Personal preferences aside, the performances are still strong and the themes resonated with me in a way that remained set apart from Lynch's other work. And I appreciate this as my introduction to Lynch since it made his better films all the more satisfying. So if you're like me and already like meditative experimental movies, then this isn't a bad start. But if you want to get used to his style, I'd recommend Blue Velvet or Mulholland Drive first.